Okay, we're starting with, or we are now on Unit 3 FRQ question 1. For those of you wanting to look it up, to follow along, or to look at more detail, this is 2010 Scoring Guidelines Form B. So I think that's the one we started with for Unit 1. I tried to go back to the older questions so that we would see some new questions that you haven't seen before. I think only a couple of these are repeats in this one. So describe a simple random sampling procedure the administrator should use to collect 200 students from the 2,500 students in the district. Number the students 1 through 2,500, put the numbers 1 through 2,500 on pieces of paper and put the numbers into a hat. Randomly select 200 numbers without replacement. Survey the 200 students that correspond with those numbers. So you're writing instructions. They should be easy, clear steps that somebody can follow and take and get, and everyone would be doing the exact same procedure. See what they put. The administrators could number an alphabetical list of students. It's not necessary for the list to be alphabetical. They could then use a random number generator from a calculator or a computer to generate 200 unique number integers from 1 to 2,500. So instead of the hat, they did the random number generator. The students corresponding to those 200 numbers will be asked to participate in the survey. So you could have done it with the number generator or the hat. You can see both ways here. Part A is scored as follows: essentially correct if the response describes the sampling procedure for generating a simple random sample, and the description of the sampling procedure includes sufficient detail for implementation. So not super specific. Let's look at, so this is the only note. A response in which objects are placed in a hat or a box and drawn out can only earn an E if the response explicitly states that the objects are mixed or that they are drawn at random. Yep, I said random, so that's good. If you said mix or at random, now when I told you the instructions before, like back in Unit 3, I told you both. So hopefully you have both, because if you forget one, you have the other as a backup. Make sure you stated either without replacement or ignore repeating values or select unique numbers if you were doing a number generator. Make sure you actually numbered the population and then you said select the 200 students that correspond with those numbers. You also could have put the names of all 2,500 students in a hat. That would have been acceptable as well. I think that gets the point across. I have everything to me. Partially correct if a random selection is used for correctly generating a simple random sample, but the description of the sampling procedure does not provide sufficient detail. So if you forgot one or two of the small details, that's a partially correct. If stratified sampling procedure is used, give one example of an effective variable on which to stratify in this survey. Explain your reasoning. I think age/grade level, elementary, middle, or high would be effective. Different age groups/grade levels might have differing degrees of pickiness and they enjoy different foods sometimes. Your stratified variable should always be one that affects the response, which is satisfaction in the food. They said one possible stratification variable might be the school level of the student. Same thing I said. The student's perceptions of importance of good nutrition in school may differ depending on the student's age and therefore school levels. For example, there may be a difference between what elementary students value in food as opposed to middle school and high school. So this scores up as follows. Essentially correct if the response identifies a reasonable stratification variable and provides a reasonable justification in context, such as stating the group/strata might differ with respect to food preferences or nutritional awareness. So you have to indicate that they might differ based on what they think of the food, not just that they're different, but how they're different. Partially correct if you provided a reasonable stratification, but with a weak justification, such as just they differ rather than what they differ in. So I said pickiness, and you can see what other things were posted. Incorrect if the response identifies an unreasonable stratification variable or unreasonable justification or no justification. Okay. Using a Describe one statistical advantage of using a stratified random sample over a simple random sample in context of this study. Using a stratified sample instead of a simple reduces variability. It will also allow us to see if a difference in satisfaction exists between the 3 age groups. Their answer, one statistical advantage of using stratified random samples as opposed to simple. For example, the elementary, middle, and high school strata create groups that differ with respect to what they value and therefore more homogeneous with respect to the opinion on the issue. Then, with the same overall sample size, a more accurate estimate of the overall proportion of students who are satisfied with the food under this contract may result. Another advantage is that stratified random sample guarantees each of the school level strata will have some representation because it is possible that a simple random sample would miss one or more of the strata completely. Okay, let's see what the scoring guidelines say. Essentially correct if the response provides a reasonable statistical advantage of stratified random sample. That is not also true of random sampling and is clearly communicated and in context. So this is definitely something, stratified instead of simple reduces variability. That's definitely something, but it's not in context. It will allow us to see if a difference in satisfaction exists between the 3 age groups. That is also another one, and that one is in context. So that I listed 2, and one of them was in context. So I have both of those. Partially correct if the response provides a reasonable statistical advantage that is either not well communicated or is not in context. Incorrect if they only include vague potential statistical advantage, such as data more accurate or stratified random sampling is better. So that is vague. I feel like my first sentence is not vague. So I think it would have gotten me a partially correct if I had stopped there, since it wasn't in context. Three E's is a 4 out of 4. Same as before, EEP3, EEI, EPP, EPI, or PPP are all 2 out of 4. EII, PPI are 1 out of 4. Less than that is 0 out of 4.